Now I would like to welcome Ms. Jasmine, who would like to enlighten us on her take on application lifecycle management. Give her a big hand.
Well, first, let me say how pleased I am to be here and to talk to you today about application lifecycle management. And thank you for BASIS for inviting me. I have had a very interesting 3 days up until now, meeting 10, 15 companies in the B2B. It was very interesting to hear and to see how the IT sector is being developing in Bangladesh. And I think that this presentation is very much to the topic. As in it, I will try to present some of the standards that are behind the application lifecycle management so that it will allow you as companies from Bangladesh to utilize the same language and the same concepts which are used in other parts of the world, and thus enable you to better communicate with your potential clients or to better communicate even inside your organizations. So what I will cover today is very shortly what is application lifecycle management. Then I will talk about 2 standards that it is based on, and finally I will try to actually explain how this can be of use to your organization. But I have here some definitions what application lifecycle actually is, but I would actually ask you to look at this nice small piece of paper which was given to you by BASIS, because it has maybe the best ever definition what application lifecycle is. And it says, well, managing software applications from the business idea generation to the moment until the application has no value for the organization. I think that this is important to understand, that the value of an application to an organization that uses it does not stop when the software developers finish their job. It actually goes for years and years, as long as anybody in your company is using it, or as long as you're paying for it in any way. Is it paying for licenses? Is it paying for the services on top of it? Is it paying in terms of resources who internally in the company are maintaining this? Or is it paying in terms of the resources that this application uses on your infrastructure? So this is why I want you to think about also these final stages of application lifecycle management, because they're specifically important to businesses, but here I would also address the government representative, that part of the application lifecycle management is also of crucial importance. Understanding when an application needs to die, when it needs to be removed from your system because you decide to change the way you operate, or you decide to migrate to a different type of platform or different type of application. So let's look at the 3 generic phases of application lifecycle management. As you can see on this diagram, the development stage, that is the stage in the middle, is initially a continuous segment, but then it has the small segments of add-ons, on enlargements of your application, on additional features. The second part is operations, which means whatever happens from the day when you receive your application from your developer, or for the developing company, what happens from the day that you deliver your application as a product to your client. And the only one part which is totally continuous is the governance part. This is the part where at the beginning it starts with the idea. It starts with figuring out what do you want this application to do, the business case development. Is it, as the representative from the government said, only expressed as a ballpark of money, or is it actually expressed as benefits that you would like this application to bring to your organization? Then a second section of governance is the section which is often neglected in bigger organizations, and that is portfolio management. How does this application fit within everything else that you have in your company? Can it be linked to the other system? Can it be interoperable with the other systems which you have? Is it something that will be used only by one department or by a multiple or departments, and so on? And finally, it is the final segment in governance is the application portfolio development, where you have the chance to actually follow the applications and maintain them throughout their till the end of their life, until they don't have any value for you. Coming back just a little bit to the development aspect of application lifecycle management, here I would like to touch upon something that our initial speaker talked about, and that is the changing realities of the software development industry. There used to be traditional software development models, the waterfall, then some hybrid models in between. Now we are more and more going towards the agile development models, and it doesn't matter which model you use. Application lifecycle management is above the software development. It covers a lot of other things as well, so you should not think that any tool or any methodology that you use is applicable or not applicable depending on the selection of the software development methodology that you choose. So to put it in a very short image here, I would like to again express that the system or the application lifecycle starts from the concept, then goes into a development stage. After that come the support and utilization stage, but finally is the stage of retirement that you should always have in mind for all the applications which you use, because from the perspective of a developer, you should allow from your application data to be extracted by the user so that they can put it in the new system which they want to migrate to, or from the point of view of user of an application, you would want not to be locked in. And this is something that a lot of companies are thinking about. How can I prevent from being locked into using one application only? As I said, the importance of AML cannot be overstated, but the previous speakers as well talked about it, so I will skip this one. And I will try to show you
Jasmine.
Yes.
All realize that there must be few questions which is coming in your mind. It would be better if you can throw those questions. So we would request that we want to make it more interactive. So if you have any question in between, there are a few things if you want to know, please let us know. There will be people from here with the mics. They'll let you have it, and you can always ask them the question. Okay? You should raise your hand, interrupt, and ask the question. Please. Thank you.
Okay, so can I go on? Yeah? Okay, so as application lifecycle management is such a big concept, the industry all over the world has tried to define it in a way that is understandable for everybody. So one way to do this is to define best practices and standards where these experiences are grouped and normalized throughout the world. So don't get scared, but this is actually the whole pool of standards that exists for application lifecycle management and for the different stages in it. Okay, let's see how this works. So as you can see, there is over 20 standards that exist in the field of application lifecycle development. So whatever comes to your mind, it's here. Everything that you can imagine as part of application lifecycle development, it is here. It's just a question of finding it. Specifically, there are two standards which cover system lifecycle and software lifecycle, which are in the second line. Those are the lifecycle processes standards, and they're the ones which will actually, you as a student or you as a developers, you as developers of AML tools, you as a user of applications, these are the two standards that will actually set the stage for you how and what you can use as part of the software lifecycle processes. So let's go into some of the details of the one which I think is most important. I will jump through some of the slides because the time is very short, but I think that if you want, this presentation will be made available for you by the organizers later on. Okay, so let's see, not this one, not this one, not this one. This one. This is ISO 12207. It is the software lifecycle process. This standard covers over 300 tasks that somebody in application lifecycle development can do, grouped in various processes. It covers aspects from the technical point of view, it covers aspects of application lifecycle management from the project point of view, from the contractual point of view, from the organizational point of view. So whichever aspect you're looking from, there is something for you in this standard. It also covers the different stages of application lifecycle. So it covers the stages of acquisition, or which is purchasing in the case, the stage of identifying subcontractors or identifying vendors that you will base your application on. Then comes the stage of the development, the stage of operations, maintenance, and finally the stage of destruction. To put it in a bit more clear way, these are the 43 individual processes that are included in application lifecycle management. So if you're from a technical background, actually only the one in yellow will be interesting for you. If you're a very software developer, only the one with red towards the end. But if you're coming from the project management perspective, the one in the green section are the one which are for you. And then finally, if you come from a managerial point of view or like high-level decision-making, then maybe the ones which are in blue are the ones which are relevant for you. So this way you can see that from whichever perspective you're looking at application lifecycle or software lifecycle management, this has something for you. So what can you see in this standard? And the standard itself has around 150 pages, let's say. You will see a process, you will see 43 processes. For each of the process, you will see what are the expected outcomes that that process should give. So this can help you in educational way to learn what a client might expect from you when you deal with a certain process. And it also goes into the details of activities which you might consider when, for example, you choose application lifecycle management tool. So which kind of activities do you want to be supported by that tool? So this is just an example for a very common process which exists everywhere, and that is the software configuration management process. As you can see, it defines some outcomes which for some of you might be common sense, but then for some other people are like, oh, this is a result that I'm supposed to give to my client. So for example, here you can see something like software configuration strategy. Well, some clients actually expect to see it. Some clients are satisfied just with the status of the items and the modifications which they have required from you. And for them, that is configuration management. And then you have also some other clients who say, well, but I also want to know how are you dealing with the configuration documentation. Well, that is why this standard says that also can be one of the outputs of configuration management process. And then if you want to go into the details, as I said, for this process, it goes into what are the possible activities. And as I said, this is a good way to identify what functionalities you want the tool which you're going to use to cover. So do you want the tool that you will buy potentially to have configuration control? Do you want to have evaluations? Do you want to also target release management and so on? So, coming towards the end of my presentation, these are some questions that you should ask yourself. For example, would I consider such a standard when I think about application lifecycle management? Am I actually doing some of these things? Can I see if I'm doing 10% or 50% of all these activities which are mentioned? If you're trying to use this standard when you're buying a tool for application lifecycle management, it can help you determine scope, it can help you determine the cost of such a solution, how much it will be for you, and it can also identify some elements that you should consider in terms of its ease of use. So in summary, and I would stop here, these are some of the benefits that you can see from using international standards such as the ISO 12207 in your company regarding application lifecycle management. The first one is that it provides a broad set of processes that can satisfy whichever scope that you have in your application. The second thing is that it has a different level of details. So you can just read the main points if you are interested only in that, or you can look through all the additional guidances if you really want to tackle the details and understand how to implement it in your own company. And finally, it is applicable to any type of software development, any type of application, as long as you want to consider the full scope or a limited scope of the aspects of application lifecycle management that were mentioned before. So I would stop here, and thank you very much for your attention. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. If not, I will give the floor to our moderator. Thank you.